G'day guys, welcome to another edition of This Week in Footy. John Donahoe, Peter Serros here as always. Now we had a challenge last week so we didn't bring you the results, but we're back in the studio this week and Pete's very up and about because the first game we're going to go through, his beloved Tigers are on a 4-game winning streak and they beat Freo, the ladder leaders, by 27 points in Perth. Not an easy task.
Mate, we won. I can't
believe
we won.
You weren't confident going in.
What Richmond supporter was confident going in? I don't think the players must have been confident going in. We won. I can't believe it. We knocked off the team that's first in the ladder. They hadn't had a loss all season yet, and we knocked them off. And you know what? They're in flying form. They've beaten Collingwood, they've beaten Essendon, they've beaten Port Adelaide, and they've beaten Fremantle. They're in very good form at the moment. And they're kind of the trolls of the AFL. I just wanted to point that out there. Point it out. We beat Collingwood, I think it was Brown's 100th game.
Yeah.
Beat Port Adelaide on Corns' 300th and final game.
Freo, Michael Johnson's 100th.
Freo, Michael Johnson's 200th.
200th, sorry.
And Dustin Fletcher's 400th. So
the giant killers.
We kind of are.
Well, that's enough talk about Richmond, but well done. Let's hope they can go on a 5-game winning streak. Who knows?
They will.
Adelaide took on Carlton at the MCG, and it was much improved effort by the Blues. 9 points they went down by in the end, but you could see the tackling pressure was back, and they were playing free footy, and they took the game on a little bit more. And geez, I like the look of Patrick Cripps.
They were definitely improved. A lot of people said that the improvement wasn't really shown. And obviously, Malthouse left. You know, the new coach comes in. And they go down to 60 points, I think it was, to Sydney. So again, it wasn't much improvement, but last week definitely showed a consistent 4-quarter effort. Adelaide, they're in finals contention, and to only go down by 9 points, Carlton are actually getting into some pretty decent form. Unfortunately, they have lost one of their greatest players. He's a Brownlow medal, a 2-time Brownlow medalist. I think it was 6-time All-Australian. 2-time MVP, and I think 5-time best and fairest.
1-time premiership player.
Yeah, and 5-time best and fairest winner. So very good player there.
Yeah, absolutely. We wish Chris Judd all the best. We move on now. Sydney were far from convincing against the Gold Coast, but they got the job done. 52 points was the margin there, and Dan Hanbury keeps putting his name up for Brownlow medal contention. He was on fire on the weekend. Luke Parker's a star. Josh Kennedy's a star, and Lance Franklin was back to his old best again. So I think they're just coasting through a little bit. They're in third gear at the moment. They're not playing their best footy. I think they'll wait and play that in September though.
52 points is holding back.
Well,
beating aside by almost 10 goals is holding back.
I mean, they should have destroyed the Gold Coast there a bit. But I mean, full credit to the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast did fight back a little bit, but they were obviously no match for the might of Sydney.
No, you are correct. The Swans, they're a genuine premiership contender this season, and they're going to push well into September. Absolutely.
The Bombers took on the Cats, and the Cats might have been rejuvenated now. They're getting their season back on track a little bit. 69 points the margin over the Bombers, and geez, the Bombers are falling a little bit. They've lost a couple in a row now, and they don't look like the Bombers we saw in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season.
No, they're not. They're really starting to slip. There's been a lot of criticism over Carlisle playing in the wrong position. Obviously, I think he hit 8 goals one round last season, so he can do it. Maybe he should be put back into the defensive side of things. Maybe put Hurley back up forward. I'm not too sure, but at the moment, Essendon have really slipped.
He's almost their most valuable player at the moment, Jake Carlisle, and there's talk he might be out of there by season's end, so stay tuned on that. Port took on the Bulldogs. 38 points was the margin this one. Port, another team, slowly building some momentum. They've gotten a couple on the trot now. Obviously, lost to Richmond a week ago, but they beat the Dogs here. 38 points. Good work by Port and the Dogs. Obviously, coming off a nice win against GWS last week, so 2 teams in need of a win.
It's good to see Port Adelaide back on the winners list. Finals are actually slipping away from them, which is kind of sad. They're not in the 8, and they probably should be. They've got the talent, they've got the depth, they've got the team to really push for that final spot. And last year, they were so close. And everyone thought that they're going to take it that one step further this year, or maybe even another step further and win it all. But they haven't shown it so far in 2015, and it's been a little disappointing. The Dogs have shown some real signs this season, but again, being a young team, inconsistent. Port Adelaide, it's good to see them get the win, but now they've got to keep it up.
I think GWS were pretty far from convincing as well against Brisbane. They got the job done by 30 points. Their younger bodies might be aching a little bit more now, but I mean, they got the job done. They're still in the top 5. But I think, we're starting to see a little bit of fatigue set in at the moment.
Yeah, the Lions as well, they're not showing any good form this season. They've lost most of their games. I think they've only
Lost
won
some
one.
of their best players as well.
They've lost some of their best players. It's a disappointing season for them. I thought they were going to be better than what they are.
Absolutely.
I thought they were going to take a little bit more of an improvement to what they showed last year, but they haven't. They've actually gone backwards, which is really sad to see. GWS, I still think this team could make finals, and who knows? They might get a sneaky win.
Who knows?
You don't know.
Who knows?
But I think they have the chance to make finals this year, and if they don't make it this year, watch out next year because they'll be in the hunt.
I agree. North travel down to Tasmania to take on West Coast. I tipped this one happening on the radio on Friday.
What a game.
I tipped North Melbourne fighting back. I just thought they had a point to prove. West Coast lost no friends in this one. They fought it out right to the end in howling wins. I don't know if you saw the game. A couple of times it was like they were kicking into a brick wall. They'd kick it long and the ball would just bounce back. So howling wins down there. Good game. North got it done by 10 points. Could this restart their season?
Yes, it could restart their season. West Coast have been in flying form this year. They've been fantastic. Pritis is definitely one of the best players in the comp. I think he's proven that he deserved to win that Brownlow. He is a genuine all-out star. I don't think West Coast are going to miss the finals this year. I think they're going to really push into September. Maybe not as far as a preliminary final, but they're going to be there. Thereabouts. North Melbourne now have to push for the rest of the season because they've let a few slip, but the 10-point win against the Eagles, they held on.
Absolutely. It does help their their finals chances, but they'll need to start beating some teams above them on the ladder. The final game of the round, bit disheartening this one. St Kilda took on Hawthorn, lost by 63 points, but you could definitely see that the effort was there. Jack Loney's a star. Sinclair will be a good player. Billings, he had a good game as well, but Rewalt was the story of the day. He kicked a few nice goals. Hawthorn, they're a class above though. You could see in the second half they run in numbers, they run out of defence very nicely, and they just put it up forward for their smalls, and if their talls don't get it, their smalls run on and they just kick goals. So a class above, but not all lost for St Kilda.
Hawthorn have to be the best team in the comp at the moment, behind Sydney and Fremantle. Those three teams clearly the standouts for 2015. And I'll be very surprised if those three teams aren't playing in preliminary finals this year. I don't know who's going to be the next team, obviously, but I think those three, they're in real premiership contention. The Hawks could go 3 in a row. They very well can go 3 in a row. There's a few players that have missed out on those premierships that have been good enough to be there from either injury or suspension or just been dropped. They're going to be pushing again.
Absolutely. The final game of the round was the traditional Queen's Birthday clash at the MCG. Collingwood took on Melbourne. Really good game by the D's. They fought it out right to the end.
They did, but they came out in flashes. It was just patches of football where they'd go out there and then Collingwood had a great start off and then Melbourne pushed hard. They came back. They were in the hunt. Collingwood got the lead. Melbourne come back. Yep. Collingwood get the lead. Melbourne come back.
Collingwood kicked 6 goals in the first quarter, and
ridiculous.
Then Melbourne kicked 6 in the second, and it was tit for tat there for a while.
But they let Travis Cloak run rampant,
7 goals
especially in the first quarter. I think he kicked 4 in the first.
4 in the first.
He'd kicked 3 in the first 5 minutes or something, and then he was left open. He was left open in the goal square. He's kicked 3 in 5 minutes. You don't leave that player open in the goal square.
They played
straight after that.
They played Tom McDonald on him, who would have been the logical option. He didn't have a great day, so they moved him off him. They put Lyndon Dunn on him. Didn't really work all that well.
It worked better.
The one thing I didn't know, I thought the D's did poorly. They kept kicking to the loose man in defence. Adam Oxley had it on a string all day. He was drifting across half back. All he did was take crucial marks in defence. Melbourne need to know, don't kick it towards the loose man. And I think Paul Roux said that after the game, that he told someone to man up on him and they didn't listen to him. So he was a bit disappointed about that.
No, it is disappointing. And you know what? It's a learning curve for Melbourne. They've had a fantastic season so far. Compared to their last few years, this has been fantastic. They've been in the hunt for most of their games and they've won a few as well. So they're going to keep improving. I think next year they're going to take that extra step. Hopefully, maybe win 6 to 8 games. But at the moment this year, they're going to have those falling out sort of quarters where they don't do too much. The game itself, I thought it was a thriller. It was fantastic to watch. Now moving into round 11, and Port Adelaide take on Geelong. Now this is a crucial game for both teams. Geelong, they're back in some pretty good form. They destroyed the Bombers last week, while Port Adelaide, they're going to need to really start getting some more wins on the board. It's going to be a tough match, but I think Geelong have proven that they've been in a little bit of better form.
This is a crucial game for both teams, as you said. If there's ever a this is going to be a real interesting game. I'm going to tip Port because I think the will and the want is there, the determination. They know that it's panic stations now. It's at the Adelaide Oval on Friday night, so I think they'll lift in front of their home crowd, but this is going to be an absolute belter.
I agree. Now, Gold Coast take on Freo, and I don't know, the Dockers...
This could be bad.
They've slipped. Michael Johnson, I think he's out for 10 weeks.
Yep.
10 weeks, and Zach Dawson broke his thumb on the weekend coming in.
Is that a big loss, though?
Well, he would have definitely been the Michael Johnson replacement if he didn't break his thumb in the twos.
I think this one could get ugly though, Pete.
It could, but I don't think Gold Coast will be enough to win it. Yep. I think Freo will win, not comfortably, but I reckon they'll win.
I think Freo comfortably. I think Freo by 60 plus points. If you're a betting man out there, so jump on that.
Now West Coast take on the Bombers. Both sides a little disappointing last week, but West Coast, they're going to be hurting. They're going to be hurting. 10-point loss. They were in it all the way. Eagles for me.
Yeah, this is another cracker, I think, because Essendon will definitely have a point to prove. West Coast go back home, long trip from Tassie to Perth, but I think they'll come out and blitz the Bombers here because they got beaten last week, obviously against North. I think that West Coast will come out and beat the Bombers, and the Bombers' season will just go from bad to worse going into their bye.
Now moving into North Melbourne and Sydney. Now North, very good win, very good win. They've had some disappointing losses, and they've had some pretty good wins over at Arden Street, but not
Arden Street.
Well, not really. Their home ground's Arden Street technically.
Yeah.
But Sydney, they're a little bit above them. They're definitely above them. I think the Swans should win this comfortably.
This one's definitely the game of the round. I think this is going to be an absolute belter. I'm tipping an upset. I'm going to tip North in this one. I think they know as well. A bit like Port, it's panic stations. It's now or never. Sydney are a class outfit, but I think coming to Melbourne, getting close to a bye as well, I think North might just get the job done here, but it's going to be a very close one either way.
Collingwood take on GWS, and I have a lot of Collingwood fans during the week telling me they're going to smash them by 80 points. I really doubt that. I think GWS are actually going to get the win.
Absolutely. I think GWS can travel to Melbourne with ease here. There's going to be no effects at all. They don't have really much wrong with them on the injury list. Collingwood have got a few injuries, a few niggles, and they're coming off a shorter break as well. They only have a 6-day break this week, obviously after playing on Monday. So this will be a cracker. GWS for me, I think, at the MCG, but I think it'll be a tight one.
It'll definitely be a tight one, but I think GWS will get on top. Now, the last game of the round, St Kilda, your Mob take on Melbourne.
Crucial.
This
is a toss of the coin game, I think.
Yeah, both teams are travelling in the same sort of form. Unfortunately, I think Melbourne are just going to get the win.
What is wrong with you?
Just the win. After the way they played against Collingwood, they showed some real fight. Now, I mean real fight. If they play that for 4 quarters instead of, probably a quarter's worth what they played last week, they're going to win.
Absolutely. Well, I think Melbourne played quite well against Collingwood. They stuck it out, as I said. They've lost today. I've heard they've lost today. Vandenberg and Garland. So there's two crucial players out of their side. I think St Kilda might get the job done. Melbourne traditionally don't play very well at Etihad Stadium. They're more of they like the open expanses of the MCG. So I think St Kilda will get on top of them early. They got young players. Sam Gilbert might come back in as well. So this is going to be a really good battle, I think. But I think the Saints, I'm sticking true to the Saints. That's all we got time for this week. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to give us a like on Facebook This Week in Footy. Carl Morton will be back next week. I think we're going to play some golf. So we're all on a level. We're all on a level playing field. We all suck. So it'll be.
I've never played golf before, so I wouldn't know.
Me neither. It'll be ripping viewing. So until next week, I'm John Ono. He's Peter Saros. Good luck to your team this week.
Very well.